Hello and welcome to part 12 of my game dev tutorials. I want to just take a second and invite you guys to check out my Patreon. And I'm not doing this for money. I'm just doing it because if every time we hit $100, I'm pledging to spend that money on art and sound and stuff for this project. If you guys are interested in that at all, make sure to check that out. That's all I'm going to say. We'll move right on. Alright, so the goal for today is to add our first building. This is a buildings class. A second loss condition for when the buildings are all gone. And we're going to work a little bit more on the spiders and projectiles, actually. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to edit projectiles so that they only hit things that they're supposed to. Right now they only hit units, and we are only passing in the units from the other player. We're going to change it so that the projectiles see everything and choose what to hit, and that's going to be important for any kind of ability and stuff. So this is an important step for later, so we're going to take care of it now, and it's really the right way to do it anyway. Alright, we're going to add the building class and then the tower class. We are going to add a list of buildings to the player, and we're going to add a tower to the user. User, of course, being us, right? As opposed to the AI player. We're going to create a function to get a list of the attackable objects from player so that we can kind of see all of the things that that player has that can be hit. We're going to change spiderlings to attack the buildings. And then we are going to add a second loss condition, which is if all the buildings are gone, then you lose. So that will, again, add a little bit more complexity into the game. The goal is to keep adding some more complexity until the game becomes better and better. Alright, well, let's jump right back in then. So I guess first actually should probably be the function in player to get all of the different attackable objects. So let's start with that. Right here, give yourself some space and be public virtual list attackable object, not linked list, just list. Get all objects. You could say get all attackable objects. You could say whatever you want. I'm trying to keep it a little bit short here. So, and then we need to get, I don't know why that's that way. Why my IntelliSense is picking that up. List, attackable object, temp objects equals new. There we go. Okay. So now we have three sets of attackable objects. Oh, we don't yet. We have the two. I guess we'll do those real fast, and then we'll add the buildings when we put it in. In fact, I had actually added buildings in my last set, in my last setup, but I realized that the tutorial was going so long that I kind of cut that part and moved it over here. I actually wanted to do both of these last tutorials in one, but it turned out that it just was taking way too long for one individual tutorial. Alright, so we'd say units to list, and then it's attackable object, and then don't forget those extra pens there. And then the other attackable objects we have right now are spawn points. We're going to return temp objects. Okay. One way to make this more efficient would be to move this up into a parameter. For right now, we're just going to leave it a little bit more down and dirty. But there is an argument for sure to be made. If you're going to call this more than once in a frame, to definitely make it here and then only call it if it's null, set it equal to null each frame, so on and so forth. That will keep you to only calling this once per frame. Right now we're only going to be calling it once per frame, so we're going to leave it like this. If we start calling it very much more than this, then we will change how that works. So the next little thing that we want to go through is editing projectile real fast to take this in. So projectile, where are we at here? There we go. Can't read today. So right now we take in a list of units. We're going to change this to attackable objects. Okay. And I just left it as unit because why? It's nice and short, and I'm okay with it. I'll understand what it means later. Okay, we've done that. We've done that. All of this stays the same, except for in here, we're going to say essentially, let's see, it's target, I think, dot, oh, maybe not, let's see, owner, it's owner dot, owner ID does not equal to units I dot owner ID and, okay, so this basically says it can only hit it if it's not the owner of it. Kind of makes sense. Now, if this was, let's say, like a ball of healing or something, you could change this. You would just override this function in the ball of healing, and you would change this to equal, right? So now your ball of healing only heals things that are on your team. So little things like that. But for right now, this is our general projectile. General projectiles are doing damage. So we're going to leave it this way. Okay, so that should break stuff, right? So if we build it real fast, there we go. We have this. Oh, well, of course, there's this. That's not what I was thinking was going to break. That's what I was thinking was going to break. Okay, so here, what we're going to do, and this is because we don't want to create this list every frame, is we're going to create a list of attackable objects, and then this is going to be, hold on, I want to name these the same because I've actually named a few things differently in the two projects. Okay, so all objects equals new. Okay, there we go. Alright, so first things first, we're going to take this, we are going to clear it every frame. This is not the most efficient way to do this. This is a down and dirty way to get it ready and get it going. And depending on how we use it will depend on how we make this efficient later. So this will have to be optimized, or most likely needs to be optimized later. So we would say all objects.add range, and then it's going to be user dot get all objects. Typing would be good. And then we're going to do the AI player add all objects, and then we're going to pass that puppy in right there. Okay, so now projectiles will hit spawn points. So one thing that we need to think about is looking at our portal, and it doesn't have a change in hit points, neither does our egg sac. So if we go and get from here our code for changing health, and we put it into portal, because portals will now be able to be killed. So I put this at like maybe 15, 20, 25, something like that, something high. Not too high, because then you get frustrated when you're shooting it, because we don't have health bars for it. We'll need to add those at a later date. But something to where you can not accidentally just kill them right away. Oops, I hit the wrong button. Let's try that again. Let's do this. Oh, spawn points are already 3. I was going to set egg sac to 3. We're still going to do it. So 3 shots to kill an egg sac. Another thing that I was noticing, and you will real quick, is that the spawn pace is really fast. So for the egg sac, I'm going to knock it to 3 seconds, so that'll slow it down, I don't know, about 20%, 30%, something like that. And then for portal, or for the general one, which is just spawn point, maybe kick this down just a little bit, 10% slower. This because the spiderlings are going to start attacking your building, it means that you have to play more defensively. It changes kind of the way that you're running around, and in some testing, I was noticing that it was hard to keep up. At least for me. Maybe not for you, but it is for me. And the other thing I wanted to change quickly is the projectile time. So they'll stay on the screen and travel a little bit further. Since the screen's bigger, that's helping. So those are minor changes I would make to help with making things a little bit more awesome. And then, okay, so we got that out of the way. Now we need to add our buildings. Let's see, a building is closest to maybe a spawn point. Or maybe just a unit. Yeah, I think right now it's closer to a unit. So paste, rename, building. Okay, and then change this out, and that out, and we have a building. That was easy, right? Right now it's just a shell. It doesn't really do a whole lot. We're differentiating it because they will be very different. Right now they're just something to kill. So that's that. We'll jump in here. We'll say folder called buildings. Okay, and then in buildings we will grab building, and we will have tower, except for I hit a slash. So let's try that again. All right, and tower is a building. Tower. Let's open that up. Alright, so first thing is we know, because it's a specific thing, what it is, and it goes to 2D / buildings / tower. Now this is I gave this to you guys a few episodes ago, so it should already be sitting in your content area. Make sure it's content copy if newer. The other thing that we don't need is dimensions, because towers will always be the same size. And so maybe new vector 2, 45 by 45 is probably fine. And then we don't need path here, right? So tower is very easy to deal with. It's just a position and the owner. Yeah, that should do. Oh, you know what? We want to set its health. So health, nope, equals 20. You set it to what you want. It's not. It doesn't need to be 20. Equals health. Okay, and then hit dist equals 35.0f. Okay, so we have this in. This is just a very simple tower. It's so that we can get buildings going, and add, like I said, that second win condition. So we want to go into player. We want to say public list buildings equals new list building. Okay, we have that. Wonderful. We need to come down here and do this now. Oh, I totally messed that up. And there. Okay, so now we're passing buildings as well. So make sure you fix that. And then in user, we are going to say it's buildings.add new tower, and then the position is, we want it in the bottom center, so kind of away from the spawns. Realistically, we shouldn't be using screen height for this, but for right now we will. And then we'll change this out later. But eventually it's going to load from a save file, so we'll probably get to that in the somewhat near future, getting save, not save files, but level files. And then a save file also, but that's two different things. And then we also will get to some of those other kind of data storage stuff, hopefully in the next, I don't know, month or so. Really depends on how fast everything goes, or, you know, if I get feedback hearing that people really want to hear that. I also need to do sound effects. There's lots of things I need to do, but right now I've been having fun, like, adding to the game itself. So, yeah. Let me know if you guys want something specific. I'm all ears. I really am. Alright, so the center of the screen is globals dot screen width dot divided by 2, and then the bottom of the screen is globals dot screen height, and then let's just subtract 40. That'll do the trick there. And then we're passing in the ID of the player. And yeah, so now we have a building that we have to protect. Okay, check our prompt real fast, make sure I'm not missing anything. We did this. We've done this. We did this. We have not done this, and we have not done this. So, spiderling and our loss condition. Those are our two things. So, spiderling is in mobs. Spiderling. And then we are going to have to override the AI. So we have this here. We go into spiderling. And change this to override. Okay. And then this gets a bit more complicated. So you could, if you wanted the AI to work this way, you could create a target up here, so a unit target up here, and then only run what I'm about to do if it's null to get a target, but then it'll stay on a target. So you'll either have to find a way to make it stop targeting something, or you'll have to just be okay with it always targeting the same target once it has a target. In this case right now, I'm not going to lock it down that way, but you absolutely could. And it would be more efficient on your CPU if you did. But that doesn't mean that's what you want it to do. One of the crazy things about AI is that you can make things simple and use almost no CPU, or you can make them very complicated and just use a ton of CPU. Alright, so I forgot. We have to change this. So we need the whole enemy in AI now, which I figured was going to happen, but I just didn't change it. So we did that there. We need to go into mob and fix it here as well, because it's just going to complain. And then this is enemy hero. Dot pose. That's getting to those 2 dots. I don't love seeing that, but we'll work on that later. We'll do some cleanup there. 2 dots starts to get to where it's like, ooh, it's getting too long. 3 dots is too long, period. So if you're getting to 3 dots, you probably are not doing things the way you should be doing things. 2 dots is pushing it. But for right now, I don't want to delve into that too much, but I do want you guys to know where I stand when I say stuff like that. All that's going to change anyway. I just don't like to see the red marks. Okay, so we are going to loop for enemy.buildings.count. Okay? And then in here we're going to say, and this is a new piece. This is something that you can do. This is helpful in C# in general. Believe it or not, I haven't seen a lot of people doing this, but it's somewhat common and it's helpful. So, so we're going to say enemy dot buildings I dot get type dot toString equals, and this is dot tower, so that's the class name, and then you're going to use the namespace before it, so whatever the namespace of the tower is. So if you go to tower, whatever your namespace is here, dot, and then the name, tower. Okay? There's spiderling. This is essentially saying if the class is this. That's what it's saying. You could... I rarely have this kind of code go into like a finished product, but it is common for me to do this early on in programming. I come back and kind of remove that kind of stuff, because eventually I load all of my classes from files. So like the tower probably will be loaded from a file, and it'll have a name and everything, and then I just use the name. So if the name of it is tower, or the type is something specific, anything that's unique, you can use anything that's unique to do this. In this case, classes are always unique, so it works. And so what we'll say here is we'll say temp equals enemy.buildings I. Okay, so now we've assigned temp. Now, it is possible that none of these were a tower, right? So we need to error check before we do anything else. So our error checking is to say if temp is not equal to null, right? If it's null, we don't want to do it, because we'll get into right here, because this is going to be temp now. Because we want to move at the tower. Okay, temp. These are all. It's all what we want. Okay. If say you didn't do this and buildings was null, or there was temp was null, then that right there would break it. You would crash your game. So you want to do a test. You'd rather nothing happen than the game crash. Nobody likes a game to crash. Let me tell you, people will be writing some reviews when your games crash. So make sure you error check. Another thing we need to do is we need to come in here and say, let's take units, because it's basically the exact same thing, and say buildings. And buildings. Change score can go away. Alright, so that was quick, and then we'll come down here and we'll do the same thing right here. Buildings, and then in world, I did need to look at something. Okay, we are drawing projectiles last here. In my other project, I was drawing projectiles above, and it was kind of weird. So I wanted to fix that if it was wrong here. It's not. Okay, so we dealt with that. We now should have spiderlings, which come from the egg sacs, attacking the tower. The tower should have, what, 15 hits? 20 hits? 20 hits. And then it dies. When it dies, it gets removed. So the way to test for our wonderful losing, whatever you want to call it, would be to, I think we drew it in here. Go to definition. Yeah, okay, so we want the text to pop up if the hero's dead, or world.user.buildings.count is less than or equal to 0. Now, in this case, it would break if this was less than 0, but This will probably end up being an int or something else, and sometimes bugs happen and things get to like -1, and so if you say equals 0 and it ends up -1, then it won't trigger, whereas this will. So this is kind of like an idiot test or a bug test in a way. So I recommend doing it that way. You don't have to. Do it the way you want. You need to do equal 0 or less than equal to 0. Okay. Next, we're going to go to world, and we have this. I didn't test this right to begin with. So this will let you reset the world every time you push enter. We don't actually want that. We only want you to be able to do it if you've lost. So we press enter and user.hero.dead or user.buildings.count less than equals 0. Okay, so we only want to be able to reset the game when hero is dead or user buildings account. Now eventually we'll probably just have something like lost, right? Like we'll have a bool called lost that'll already encompass all this. That's another way to improve things. If you felt like doing it, we'll probably do it eventually. And then this one here is the opposite, right? So we've been doing or this, but what we want to happen in here is and, which is so it's like we're knotting the whole sentence. So we want to knot a whole true sentence. You knot each individual thing and you switch ors to ands. So we knot this and we switch or to and. So we're also going to do the not version of this, which in this case is user.buildings.count greater than 0, right? That's essentially the not of that. And that will stop the updating. Okay, so things we need to test for when I run this right now. We need to test that we can shoot the egg sacs. We need to test that we can shoot the portals. We need to test that the spiderlings go at the tower, and that when the tower dies, that we lose. So that's what we're testing, and that's considering that everything runs right now. So let's start with that. Alright, appears we're running. Okay, let's kill that. Oh, we killed that. Good. The spiderlings are going at the tower. Let's make sure that we can kill this. Shooting it a lot. Okay, it's dead. Notice it's not spawning or anything. Alright, and now we're just waiting to see if the tower dies and we lose. Oh, it did. It died. We lose. Hit a restart. Everything's back. And we are back to playing. So, it appears everything worked for us, which is awesome. That's what we wanted to see. Eventually, we'll have a win scenario, which is if you've killed everything and you haven't lost. So, like, for instance, coming through, killing all the mobs, getting all the portals dead and stuff like that. So, that is what the goal was so far. So, we did that. We've showed a couple new things. We've added... Ooh, look at there. See, I lost. The game is much harder now. But anyway, that's the end of this tutorial. If you enjoyed it, make sure you hit that like button. If you learned something, please hit that like button. And subscribe if you haven't already. Remember that Patreon account. I will use the money for this project. And it'll mean I can teach better, because I can't really do sprite sheets and stuff myself, nor can I compose music. So anyway, consider that. I will be doing this regardless. It just means having more resources to put into this. Past that, I hope to see you guys next time. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and yeah, have a good one. See you next time.